Can you just give me a clap for the audio? Right, audio synced up. So you saw the bio and basically what I'm looking to do today, and all of the questions are really the same as what I sent you. There may be one or two variations where the words are not exactly the same. But
Doesn't matter. You just do whatever you got to do.
Okay, for sure.
We're doing this live.
Sounds good.
Yes, I'm Jim Bergenn, Bergenn. I'm a partner at Shipman & Goodwin, and I've been teaching lawyers and law students for 38 years how to be trial lawyers. That's my specialty.
Specifically, how to be trial.
Yeah, how to be a persuader.
And so that's your specialty as far as teaching goes.
It's also what I am. I'm a trial lawyer my whole career. I was originally known for doing criminal defense, but ultimately I got known for just doing trials, and then took on a variety of other things that would take advantage of my background, which is both criminal law and other civil law. And now my main work as a lawyer is high-end personal injury, wrongful deaths, traumatic brain injuries, serious burns for the plaintiffs to help them recover, and other kind of creative things when somebody does something pretty bad and they're used to being a bully and they're used to getting away with it. And since I work at Shipman & Goodwin, which I honestly do think is the best firm in the state, and it's been that way for the 45 years I'm there, there are a handful of law firms that have its same caliber of quality in terms of law background, but they are, I think, unique in terms of colleagueship, community involvement, work-life balance. It's a good, wholesome place to be. So we have a lot of fun.
I want to backtrack a little bit. So you have those specialties. How do you hone in on what your specialty should be as a lawyer?
Well, first I'm going to use, when you're talking to lawyers, and ultimately when you become one, we're not allowed to use the word specialty without some very specific criteria. So what we say is what we concentrate in or what we have experience in. I'm just saying that just so you'll learn something new. But how I learned was just, you got to be yourself. You got to explore your natural gifts. You got to explore the things that motivate you, because you're going to get better at things you're motivated about. And so I love to help people. It's been my nature my whole life. But I also have one mission in life: stopping bullies. I can do it. And most bullies get away with it until they hit me. And I have taken some serious money from some serious bullies who are billionaires and are just used to people ultimately just like giving up. But because of Shipman & Goodwin having the caliber of lawyers, the strength and the depth, I get on something and I show them, we're going to make money on this. They say, go ahead. And that's how we've recovered hundreds of millions of dollars in my career.
For sure, for sure. I saw, what was it, the $1 Million Advocate Forum on your resume.
Oh yeah, and that's actually pretty easy to get if you've ever gotten $1 million verdict. But
1% of lawyers.
yeah, that's true. But there's a lot of lawyers, you know. And frankly, I would say 85% of lawyers don't really litigate. I mean, they understand it, maybe they do a little bit of it, but there's an awful lot of law that just needs people to review documents, give advice. You know, there's not a lot of people who, like, you can't make $1 million if you're doing family law, you know. So, and you can't make $1 million in a verdict if you're doing corporate law and you're really good at it, or contract law, or healthcare law. So it's a little bit misleading.
So I guess I'm trying to figure out what made, I know you said you don't like books and you look to take down books, but I guess I'm just wondering where exactly that came from.
Oh, very interesting question, and really is kind of off the law. But I was telling you about how I grew up very, very late. and I had moved around a lot, and I was an athlete, but I didn't even start puberty until I was the beginning of my junior year, and I looked like a small 8th grader when I was in my junior year in high school. And when I started high school, I wasn't even 5 foot. And so I knew what it was like to be an outsider, but I knew how to get on the inside. But I always had compassion for inclusion. It's in my nature. I want border collie. I want to get everybody included. And I really hated it when somebody had advantage and was being a jerk to somebody who didn't. That bothered me. And I knew that I could fight for myself. I was quicker. I could defend myself with my tongue and just see things. And so I just loved protecting people. While at the same time trying to get the most credibility I could with the quote in crowd, but I never wanted to be in an in crowd because by definition it meant there's some people who are out. I'm not like that. I hate it. So I have the ability to do some things, always had it, and then as a lawyer, gave me more opportunity to use those things that are kind of my nature. And so what motivation? When you see people who are getting disadvantaged by somebody who just got more money, more access to power. And for me, there's a lot of things in the law where you can get your attorney's fees if you're doing the right thing. And I take those cases. So, and then the other people realize it, oh, we may lose. And I make it pretty clear, no, you're gonna lose. Now, I don't talk like that because I don't really like to win. I just like to stop. I just want to just give them a little whap. Say, no, I got more of that, but I don't want to do that. Let's just resolve this. It doesn't work, give them a little more whap. But then that's it. And then if they don't get it after a couple of whaps, and I look at it, I'm like, we're going to win this case. It's like, here we go. And I know that ultimately they're going to have to get in front of a judge, in front of a jury, and you can't hide it when you're a jerk. And so I know when we get in a courtroom, and they know by the time they get there, they don't know how to be anything else. Because if they knew how to do something else besides be a jerk, they would have resolved it the first time. I said, no, I'm not trying to beat you. I just want to get this thing done fairly. That's all. I don't want to win. I just want to stop what you're doing. And I want that client of mine to get fairly compensated. And you did what you did. You got to fairly compensate. If you don't want it, that's okay, because we'll get it another way. And that way, you're going to have to pay my attorney's fees, which are pretty high, and your own attorney's fees, and you're going to get nothing. Plus, you're going to get publicity that you don't want. So it's set up. It works for me.
There's a lot of pride with being a jerk, 100%.
Oh, yeah, and they don't want to give it. But I really do honestly want to resolve it. Because most of my clients, it's not fun for them to wait another 2, 3, 4 years to get the thing resolved. We will discount the true value of the case for the certainty and for the time value of money. But we're not going to discount it for any other reason, because we know what that's worth. And if they just want to get a little extra out of us, no, it's not going to work. And then you may have to pay a lot. And when you look at the background, the cases, the big cases, all the big cases got big because if you understood who was on the other side, you realize they never gave in to anybody. And then they had to give in to us because they realized we weren't giving up. And their bill was going high, and their bill paying my fees was also going high. At some point, they realized, all right, let's just get rid of this. This didn't really happen. It's like, yeah, I don't need any publicity. But a lawyer's job is loyalty to client. You serve the client, always. Anybody going to law school, if you have a natural disposition to actually enjoy serving other people, you're going to like being a lawyer. You still got to do all the work. But once you do all that work, it's not about you being a champ. It's about the client's case being the champ, not the lawyer. I want to go through a trial, win big, and not people think about the lawyer did it. I want them to see the case did it. I want them going, boy, that was horrible what that other guy did. I don't want them saying, oh, Bergenn was really good. I want results. Right. So, That's a thing. If you figure it out before you start, you're really going to enjoy being a lawyer.
So I mean, you brought up determination. You brought up
Discipline.
discipline.
Discipline is very important. Well, discipline just to get through law school. You got to like carve out other things. You got to concentrate. And a little tip is 90 minutes is your attention span. You can add another 10 sometimes when you got to finish something up. But anytime I studied all through law school, 90 minutes at a time. And then I'd give myself 10, 15 minute break, do something else, and then come back. So I had typically 7 days a week, 4 90-minute sessions a day. So that's 4 hours and a half, right? So that's 6 hours. Now, if you've ever worked a job and done 8 hours, you can do law school, right? You've done an 8-hour day. So I do 90 minutes, go work out, go have breakfast, whatever. Start again, total focus, 90 minutes. Chill, go to the gym. But I do that 7 days a week, so I never had to get out of whack. You're gonna see when you go to law school, a lot of people in the old days, they're drinking Diet Cokes, unshaven, smoking cigarettes. It's just like, they're just like dehumanizing themselves. And it's just gross, and I would always find another place besides a law school to study. I went to Columbia, so I'd go to business school. I'd find these little places where I didn't want to run into anybody. I needed to focus.
I mean, Columbia, is it in New York City?
Oh, it is.
Yeah,
Yep.
so
Upper West Side. Yep.
All right, so I mean, what kind of things did you, enjoy about New York City?
A lot, because I was there 76 to 79. Now, again, school was always foremost. In fact, I almost decided not to finish law school because I was so used to college. I became an RA, you know what they are, in charge of the floor, and then an RD, in charge of the dorm. And I did that, and I loved it because it's human problems, right? And then when I went to law school, I didn't have anything like that. I'm just like studying, and there's nothing to do but to study. And it was driving me crazy, even though I was interested in the subject matter. Political philosophy is what I majored in, so it's natural. But it was like no humans. And I'm like, all right. So we had our exams at the end of the holidays at Columbia. It was ridiculous. And I knew, all right, I'm not doing this. I'm going to finish. I'm going to finish this year. I'm not a quitter. I've never been a quitter. But I'm not doing this. So I left, and I was so disciplined. I'd organized all my study for, 2 weeks after the holidays. And I had a day and a half I kept aside solely to figure out what else am I going to do. And I interviewed, and I was going to try to go work for United Way and Catholic Charities. I don't know, something. I'm not doing this. But then in the second semester, I noticed they had a job opening to be a head resident of an undergraduate dorm on campus. And I'm like, oh, I got that. I know I can get that. Interviewed, got it, had 275 undergraduates in my dorm. I had 8 counselors that I hired, interviewed and hired, and I was in charge. But so I was solving problems. Somebody throws a bed out the window, somebody's drunk, some hockey players want to fight, streaking was big and all that. It was like I had to deal with stuff, but I like helping people. And that actually, and also you get like serious money. And I got a 2-room suite, it was like, okay, this is good. Yeah, but it was right at the top of the dorm. Right, you see Columbia in the news and in the movies all the time. I was on top of the floor of one of those dorms, Livingston, overlooking that library that's always in the scene of all the movies and all the demonstrations and all that kind of stuff. So and I got that job. I'm like, oh, I got this now. And it was fun. So I did a lot of stuff on campus because of that. That's my job.
So you're a proponent for working through school. I mean, we
God,
talked
yeah.
about that a little bit. Yeah.
I worked through high school. My parents told me when I was 11, you're smart, you're going to college, we don't have any money. You're going to have to pay. I'm like, okay. I didn't know at 11 what that meant, but I just started hustling. I was like, shoveling snow, cutting lawns, babysitting. The first thing I did after I heard that, I started making Christmas ornaments and selling them door to door. Now, who's going to turn down some little 5th grader, a cute little kid? Oh, I want to buy some Christmas. So I started making money, and I saved it all. And I ended up only having to pay for half my high school, but all my college, all my law school. Still had to borrow, but I got some scholarships and I got the head resident job and RA, and I just got through. So yeah, it also keeps you as a person. Most lawyers become lawyers because they do this, and they get that cumulative average. A's, you gotta get A's, a lot of A's. Well, you can't get A's if you're, carrying on. So, I did this, but then I did this. I went through all college. I got it. Let's go. Let's do something. So I studied, but I had a lot of fun and did a lot of extracurricular things. Yeah, but that ultimately is what made me the lawyer that I am. A lawyer that is a human being first and last. I got a legal education, but the key to being a good lawyer, you've already put your hand on it, service. It's the client's case. Ethically, you're bound to do, even when the client wants to do a dumb thing. You can try to talk them out of it, but they want to do it. It's not your case, it's their case. You serve them. You won't serve them unethically because your credibility is typically what they're hiring. So you can't do things that are not credible. You can represent somebody who's going to lose, but you do it honorably, and you lose. But you do the best you can with the case. So I define my successes as best available result. Not that I win or lose. It's like, what was the best available result given my ethical duties to my client? Then just do it. Next. That's what you do. Best available result. Sometimes the best available result is an acquittal when nobody else got one. That's nice. That's really nice. But sometimes you cannot acquit the guy. It's not going to happen. So you just got, all right, I got to ameliorate the damage, mitigate the harm that's going to befall my client because the client insists. Hopefully at the end of the trial, if it's a criminal case, you explain it to the judge, you had a sincere belief. You saw that, Your Honor. He got it. He learned a lot from this case,
What would you define as a way to deal with a case like that? When I say a case like that, where you may really not reach what your client is looking for, you're not going to reach an acquittal. What angle do you have to
honesty.
attack a case like that? Oh, okay.
It's all about honesty. You have a client, the client can't see it. And you try your best, use Socratic method, ask questions, try to engage the client so the client can't see it. I've had clients have brain injuries. Your brain just can't, they don't have executive function. And it took me a while to figure that out. But once I did, got very informed, my neuropsychologist, that there's some people just don't have executive function. It's disabled, and especially from trauma, brain injury that can happen. And you would know some people like that because you played football. And it's sad, But your job is to help them understand it as best they can. And if they can't, just keep doing your job. Being kind, being credible with your opposition, always credible with the judge. Even if your opposition is a jerk, don't ever lower yourself to that.
Now, when you say credibility, is this synonymous with being ethical? When you say the word credibility, what exactly do you mean?
I mean it literally, meaning that people will believe you. Now, ethical, in my opinion, is absolute minimum. You can never be unethical. Because if anybody ever discovers you did something unethical, ethics implies understanding and knowledge and intent. That's a reveal, we call that. That person is not an ethical person. Now, you can make mistakes. I taught my kids, anytime you figure out you make a mistake, first thing you do is you apologize, square up. And if the other person really wants to continue to judge you, that's now their problem. You've apologized. You're doing the best you can. You made a mistake. Over. Done. They want to just jump on you. All right. Now we both know you got a problem. Because I really am sorry. If you need to keep pounding on me, you can do it. But I'm really sorry. And you won't find me doing it again. And I'm not even going to get into you for being a jerk back. All right. You make your choices, I make mine. You know what they realize right away? Oh, I just lost credibility. Yep, you did. But there's still time for you too. You have to adjust. But credibility literally comes from credo, it's Latin, believe. You want to be believed. And not just by people who are in your camp. Like as a trial lawyer, you don't know who's going to be on your jury. There's going to be some MAGA people. There's going to be some, radical Bernie guys, and you got to get all of them to listen and process to the evidence in your case. It's not about you, it's about the evidence. You make the evidence prove the case, and you let them come to their own thinking based on the evidence, not because I told you. Now, I want credibility. I want to win all the ties. But some things you're going to win, some things you're going to lose. The best trial lawyers win the ties, the jump balls. Get to the ball. Loose ball, you know who wins? Whoever gets that ball. And that's what being a trial lawyer is about. It's high as a loose ball. You got to win it. How? Credible. You know the Alex Jones case? Alex Jones, he's the one who lied all about those people their kids were gunned down at Sandy Hook, and he lied about them and all that. Oh, it was horrible. And they just won a $150 million case, or I don't know, a ton of money. $1.4 billion they got out of him. Yeah, horrible guy. And he just lied all the time. And he lied for a living. And he made money on it. And all those people who just wanted to believe, he said that the people whose kids were killed made it up. You don't remember that? All right. Well, you probably had your head down. That's okay.
I feel like this might have been something I saw on Twitter, and honestly, might have just really not.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. It's crazy, and it's still going on. It just came out in the news yesterday. He's still fighting. He doesn't want to give in. He lost $1.4 billion. He's like, for a reason. He lied. Only brought it up because one of my former students was a lead trial lawyer. And one of my former students was the lead trial lawyer defending him. Two former students, head to head, biggest case. And I'm talking to each of them during the trial. And he was the absolute worst client anybody has ever had. And so I credit the student, Norm Pattis, a very good trial lawyer. I credit him for handling it as well as anybody could handle that crazy guy. And then Chris Maddie was the lead lawyer for the Sandy Hook parents. And he was great, really. I mean, he everything I ever taught, he just does. He gets it. He's really, really good. He's, I think, the best trial law firm in the state is probably Koskoff and Beater. And he's the best trial lawyer at the best trial firm. And he had actually, when he got out of school, worked with me. And we went and we beat some bullies. Won a big, big result. Got reversed on appeal from wacky ruling. It just didn't make any sense. We won everything. He said, oh, but you don't have standing. So it was silly. But Chris Maddie, very, very good. He ran for AG, and he's just a great lawyer.
How do you go about the time commitment to your job, or even how would you, describe the time commitment to your job?
Well, the best person to answer that isn't here, my spouse, because I love my job. I also happen to love my family. Now, I just really lucked out with my wife. Again, we're together 25 and a half years. We each had 2 kids. We each had first spouses that were very challenging. It was very hard for our respective kids to deal with what they had. And so we found each other. It was really, if there's anything as a God, it was definitely that. Again, my kids were 15, 13. Hers were 11 and 9. Add 25 and a half years, that's where they're at now. And things are a lot better for just about everyone. And now we've got 7 grandkids. The oldest one is 5.5. And so I always put family first. But I was able to do it at Shipman, where I could keep my family first, coach my kids all year round, sports. I came up with the idea, wait a minute, I can't talk to 2 clients at the same time. I just decided to consider my kids like my clients, and their soccer team and their basketball team and their softball team and their baseball team. So I coached all these sports, 2 days a week during the season. Right after school, I had to leave work early. But the clients that I really got along with, I'd tell them what I'm doing. They go, oh, that's great. And clients that I didn't, I just didn't. I said, oh, I couldn't get back with you. And get back with them the next day. Now, it's a lot harder now. We didn't have cell phones like back then, right? That's 25, well, more than that, 30 years ago. But it was, I put family first. I love family. That's all I wanted. All I wanted. Even going to college, law school, all I wanted is a family. I wanted to have a big family. I ended up getting one indirectly.
I know, right? That's 4 kids in the house. So.
Well, they all grew, and then we took on 2 more. Well, it's a little more complicated. No, it's all good. It's all public record. My wife's ex-husband has 3 children by a second marriage that lasted 10 years. As those kids advanced, we would have them over because they're half brothers for all holidays. And then when that marriage didn't work and those kids got older, my younger stepson said, you got to take in the older one. When he was 17, he's now 25. We took him in. And then he had a younger brother, and he came and joined us 2 years ago, and he's coming on 24. And they're great. So now we got 6 kids. They got a younger sister, a freshman at Providence College, so that's happening. So, and of course, most people have significant others or exes, even that happens. So we got a very busy, complicated life, but my wife is amazing. She's a genius, first of all, which I didn't even know. I just knew she was beautiful, and she was very strong, but I learned that she's MacGyver. She figures everything out. Her dad was a legendary teaching physician at Cornell Medical School.
Well then, all right. So
And her older son, the one that I started when he's 15, he's a brain surgeon. Came right through him. No genetics from me.
But genetics nonetheless. I mean,
No, these kids, yeah. And then the younger stepson, he's the monster. He's like crazy talented. They wanted him to play D1, and instead he looked into all the NESCAC schools.
okay,
Yeah, so and he ended up going Wesleyan.
yeah.
Every single NESCAC school wanted him. Every single one. They all wanted him because he had the numbers anyway. They didn't have to waste a slot on somebody they got to give a little advantage to get him in to play football, right? And but when they saw what he was doing, it's like, well, you're on the team, and you're actually going to bring up our average because he had such good numbers, and his, SATs and his grades, his big accomplisher. So he decided I'm going to go D3, which is still very demanding.
100%.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I followed like Jalen's life. Like,
Yes.
Because I was in high school when Jalen was in college. So when he's telling me the things that are going on, I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
This is really what you gotta do?
That's good that you knew him. I don't know how that happened. We'll talk about that sometime offline. Yeah.
Definitely. So I mean, I guess my final question is, you spoke about your family. You
Yes.
spoke about your eclectic interests, coming up. And what I can say is that you're articulate as a lawyer, but your storytelling ability is really off the charts, and it reeks of real life experience. What would you say is done for your education and I guess just your profession in general?
It's everything. Because when I look back, I'm old enough now. I'm 70 years old. So when I look back, I really understand where it came from. And I had some difficulties in my family. I had 3 sisters, no brothers. So that puts me in a pretty good position. right? And my parents, I always knew they loved me, but they had some issues, but I knew they loved me, and I just loved people. And I knew it. I had all my cousins and my neighbors. I just loved people. And I had this wonderful older sister. Like, she was perfect. Like perfect student, totally obedient. I mean, I'm a good kid, but I wasn't like trying to be this perfect thing, but I was 1 grade behind her, almost 2 years behind her, but 1 grade. And so when I'd start school and be 1 grade behind her, they all figured, well, she's the smartest kid in the class. You must be smart. So I started out, they thought I was smart. And my parents, they read to me all the time. My dad was always doing math stuff. So I didn't know that we were smart until you go to school and you're like, oh, I guess we know all this stuff. I mean, I don't know, it wasn't really that hard. So I had some advantage, but then we moved around, and every time you move, it's trauma. Wasn't that much for me because I was so outgoing. So I figured out how to get myself accepted. I'm on the outs, the new kid. Everybody knows what the new kid's like. Oh, who wants a new kid? But I figured it out. So I love sports, so that's easy. You know, if you're good at something, and all the boys play ball, okay, so you get accepted, right? Girls, I was just nice. I had 3 sisters. Girls never intimidated me. I was surrounded by girls. You know, my mom was very dominant, and I had 3 sisters, so it wasn't. So for me, all that human experience was joyful. It was hard. Oh, we had some tough times. I was just telling, because I've got a niece who's in 4th grade, and I said, well, the 2 hardest years of my life academically was first year of law school and 4th grade. I remember, because 4th grade is normally a pretty charming time, but we had moved. We went from this school where I used to be able to wander around the school. It was so laissez-faire. And I went to a school with row desks. I'd never seen them. 75 kids in 1 class. It was crazy. And if you wanted to talk, you had to raise your hand. It couldn't go over your ear. And if she get called on, thank you, Miss Callum. Answer in a full sentence. Thank you, Miss Callum. And sit down. And, okay, so that's pretty rough. My bedroom was so small, there wasn't really enough room for a bed and the dressers to come fully out of my dresser. And lived in a row house. Next door was a drunk. I mean, screaming loud drunk. And I'm in 4th grade. That's when Kennedy got shot and all. And so it was hard. It was mayhem, but I had to adjust. And 2 things helped me. One was nobody had hit puberty yet. So I was like fast, and I was coordinated. So I played sports effectively. 2, they were always Catholic schools, and they still had the Latin Mass 1 more year. And I was quick, I understood Latin. So they put me in charge of teaching the other Latin, all the altar boys. So I used to, wander in. If I saw a priest, sometimes the priest would just do a mass by himself. I'd see it, like, oh, I gotta go in and help. So I'd just sit there, and I'd serve. Just me and this priest. That was pretty good, because I really paid attention to everything they were teaching. And I realized most of the stuff they were teaching was perfect, and some was just nuts, because they were humans. So I didn't freak out about some of the idiocy that sometimes religious teachers would teach. I was like, oh, yeah, that's all right. I mean, when Christ came here and did what he did, he knew that that's the way it is. He did everything he could to teach you, no, it's just about love, period. Nothing else, love. That's it, love, get it? Love, nothing else. And yet they come up with all this other gobbledygook. And to me, I understood that. And I thought, well, I agree.
Principal or question, but one question I do have is, it seems that as I'm looking at I don't know, I want to call it a pendulum just because it seems like.
Oh, it's a pendulum. What's going on right now in our country?
Oh, well, what goes on in our country,
sorry.
but I was going to even say, and it's really not a pendulum because in your life, what I have in my mind is almost the swinging of branch to branch where, you grab maybe an opportunity or even a skill that has propelled you in a way, and it seems to push you forth into the next
Other opportunities, yes.
Yeah, exactly. And
Well, and let me see if I can capture your question,
Yeah, please.
which is you have to be adjustable. You have to pay attention. And I made a couple of amazingly good choices. When I picked the law firm that I picked, I interviewed at 12 law firms. I got 12 offers. There was only one firm I wanted to go to, Shipman & Goodman. At the time, a now retired Chief Justice, or not Chief Justice, retired Justice Dick Palmer was an associate, junior associate. And he explained, they only give out one, at most two offers a year. I was the 27th lawyer. And I interviewed at all these other firms. Why? Because I was going to live in Connecticut. I got to figure it out. I wanted to know everything about as many law firms, how they work, what their values are. And this was different. The guy who I first met at Shipman & Go was Chris Murphy, our senator's father. He had gone to Columbia too, and he did an interview. And he was different from all the others. No charisma, but honorable, humble. Something struck me as different. And I'm like, this is pretty cool. And he got married while he was in law school. But everybody goes to Shipman & Goodwin. They could have worked D.C. or New York, Boston, but they wanted to raise a family in Connecticut. So that's cool. And then I ultimately interviewed. And the only reason I'm saying this much, most of the opportunism was because of that good choice. But even my first choice, when I did that, after I clerked for Chief Federal Judge, then I worked for Shipman. Actually, in the middle, I worked for President Carter for 3 months when he was running against Reagan, directly. Great story, but that's aside. I come back to Shipman, worked 9 months, and this great lawyer that affirmed who I was as a lawyer and released me, he was going to leave the firm and join the two other best criminal defense lawyers. And they had one associate, Chris Droney, who happens to be now a retired Second Circuit judge, but back then, and they asked if I would join them. I'm like, oh man, but I love this Shipman & Goodwin. And these guys are like stars. And then an opening came up in the Federal Public Defender's Office. And he said, take that. Don't think about this. Just do that. Because you'll be your own lawyer. And I was not all that wild about just being a lawyer for a law firm in Hartford, Connecticut. It didn't fit my life image. So I took a 2-year leave of absence and became a federal public defender. That is, when people are charged with federal crimes, you're their lawyer. And so I had my own case law, my cases when I was a kid, really. And I did that for 2 years and came back 2 years to the day to Shipman & Goodwin and been here since. So I got lucky, a lot of luck, but I made some luck. I mean, like what you're doing, I've never known anybody to do this, anything even like this. You're putting together you, and you're making a plan to capitalize who you are. You know how many people do that? I know you now. I'm serious. You're a very unusual being.
Well, I mean, but to say that it's really built on credible people. You know?
Yes, you paid attention. You made some decisions, and you kept making them, and you're still making them, and you're trying to make even better ones. That's all it is. Now, my instincts tell me the hardest thing for you, because you've been doing all this is doing those 4 90-minute sessions a day. Total focus. That's going to be the hardest thing. You do that, you're going to do great.